Senator, you're the expert. Many times as a conservative Republican, you've had to come out on the floor and obey party whips and vote against big appropriations passed by the Democrats when they were in power. You weren't against feeding poor people. You weren't against Social Security. You weren't against a lot of programs that, because of the nature of parliamentary procedure and combat, you had to vote against the whole package. Didn't you many times vote against whole packages of spending when you would have gladly gone for a smaller package?
Well, I didn't make speeches about them, and I didn't put them in my platform. Right here is what John Kerry put out as far as his U.S. Senate platform was. He was talking about he wanted to cancel the MX missile, the B-1 bomber, the anti-satellite system. I mean, this is not voting for something that was in a big bill.
Can I ask you about your role in the Democratic Party, because you caused such a hit tonight, because you are a man of the Democratic Party. Long before this election, you had to watch, as a Southern conservative, the nomination by your party of people like George McGovern, Fritz Mondale, Jimmy Carter, liberal after liberal after liberal, including Mike Dukakis, perhaps the most liberal of them all. What caused you to cross the aisle tonight?
By coming to Washington and seeing firsthand what a mess it is and how far out the Senate Democrats are. They're off the chart as far as being with the mainstream of America. I think the straw that broke the camel's back was the Homeland Security measure. When time after time, John Kerry and the Democrats put collective bargaining above Homeland Security. That did it for me.
Well, that did it for Max Cleland as well, didn't it?
It surely did, and probably Gene Carnahan. And nobody is to blame except, well, they're to blame because they voted that way, but who's really to blame is Tom Daschle for insisting that they do it 11 times over a 4-month period. It was dumb.
Do you mean to say that you really believe that John Kerry and Ted Kennedy do not believe in defending the country?
Well, look at their votes.
Wait
a minute. I said I didn't question their patriotism.
No, do you believe that they don't believe in defending the country?
Their judgment. What?
Do you believe they want to defend the country?
Look, I applaud what John Kerry did as far as volunteering to go to Vietnam. I applaud what he did when he volunteered for combat. I admire that and I respect that. And I acknowledge that. I've said that many, many times.
Right. But I'm just asking you as an expert.
I think his record is atrocious.
Well, let me ask you, when Democrats come out, as they often do, liberal Democrats, and attack conservatives and say they want to starve little kids, they want to get rid of education, they want to kill the old people, that kind of rhetoric is not educational, is it?
Wait a minute. Now, this is your program, and I'm a guest on your program,
yes,
and so I want to try to be as nice as I possibly can to you. I wish I was over there where I could get a little closer up into your face, but I'm not going to have to stand here and listen to that kind of stuff. I didn't say anything about not feeding poor kids. What are you doing?
No, I'm saying that when you said tonight, I just want you to...
Well, you're saying a bunch of baloney that didn't have anything to do with what I said up there on the roster.
Okay, you believe, Senator, truthfully, that John Kerry wants to defend the country with spitballs. Do you believe that?
That was a metaphor, wasn't it? You know what a metaphor is.
Well, what do you mean by that metaphor?
Wait a minute. He certainly does not want to defend the country with B-1 bomber or the B-2 bomber or the Harrier jet or the Apache helicopter or all those other things that I mentioned, and there were even more of them than here. You've got to quit taking these Democratic talking points and using what they send to you. No, I'm using your talking points and asking you if you really believe them. Well, use John Kerry's talking points from what he's had to say on the floor of the Senate, where he talked about them being occupiers, where he put out this whenever he was running for the U.S. Senate, about what he wanted to cancel. Cancel, to me, means to do away with.
What did you mean by the following?
I think we ought to cancel this interview.
Well, I don't mean, but please, well, that would be my law, Senator.
You're hopeless. I wish I was over there. In fact, I wish that we lived in the. I wish we lived in the day. I wish we lived in.
We're in. Chris, I got to warn you. We're in a tough part of town over here. But I do recommend you come over because I like you. Let me tell you this: if a Republican senator broke ranks And, all right, I'm sorry, a Republican senator broke ranks and came over and spoke for the Democrats. Would you respect him?
Yes. Of
Why?
course I would. I've seen that happen from time to time. Look.
What did Jim Jeffords? What's Jim Jeffords say to you? Jim Jeffords of Vermont switched parties after getting elected.
Ask a question,
well, that's a tough question. It takes a few words.
Get out of my face. If you're going to ask me a question, step back and let me answer.
Senator,
you know, I wish we lived in the day where you could challenge a person to a duel. Now that would be pretty good. But don't ask. Don't pull that.
I need
don't
you, Senator.
pull that. Wait
Senator,
a minute. Don't
please
pull
come
that
over.
kind of stuff on me like you did that young lady when you had her there browbeating her to death.
Yeah, well,
I'm not her.
She was
I'm not her.
Let me tell you, she was suggesting
You get in my
John
face,
Kerry
I'm going to get back in your
purposely
face.
shot himself to win a medal, and I was trying to correct the record.
The only reason you're doing it is because you're standing way over there in Herald Square.